Welcome back and good afternoon. It's Uncle Phil with the guest, always the Frixer, keeping things balanced and positive for all NFL teams as he does. He's become a sensation over here, a hit. Fans of all teams love him after he slices and dices their teams and gives them no hope at all. The Frixer, welcome back. Hey, today is the NFC South, another team, another division that you have followed very closely, being in Georgia for a long time, big Falcons fans. There hasn't been a ton to cheer about with the Falcons in a while. What is, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your optimism level with the Falcons this year?
I think they have a lot of pieces. I think the real question, obviously, you saw from the draft is, are they able to get a pass rush? I mean, that was the biggest thing they were missing last year. When they did, my God, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but when they tried to blitz last year, they got totally roasted. So they've got to be able to get some pressure without blitzing this year. Because the back half of the defense isn't wonderful either. It's okay, but when they blitz, they get roasted. So.
They were 31st in sacks, 27th or 31st in NFL in sacks, 30th in the NFL in pressure percentage, and 27th NFL in pass rush win rate.
Yeah. So terrible. So it's not hard to imagine them getting better, than that, right? And all they have to do is have one of these first round draft picks to hit for them. I think they'll both be decent. I don't think either one of them is a world beater, but you add two decent pieces, and all of a sudden you go from bottom feeder to decent pass defense, right? Which is really all they need, because the offense is loaded. And I'm really high on Michael Penix. I probably higher than most. I see traits in that guy. I think that guy is going to be a stud, and he's got 4.5 speed, but he doesn't look to run the ball. He looks to gash you deep, and he's got the arm to do it. And I think with Penix, we're going to see this year, everybody's been saying what a bust Kyle Pitts is. And I actually think with Penix, you get Kyle Pitts as a bonus, because he's finally got a quarterback that can get him the ball deep down the field, which is where he's running wide open. So I think the Falcons offense could be special. One thing I'd like to see them improve is to diversify the offense, where they're not telegraphing run or pass, which they kind of were last year with the formations. But if they can fix that, I mean, they have a lot of upside on offense and on defense too, because you can't get any worse on defense.
Well, look, I mean, the Falcons certainly agree with you. They stacked their picks, their first and second picks in the 15th pick of the first round with Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. And then in the first round with the 26 picks, James Pierce should be James Pierce Jr. rather should be really improved. What I really thought was interesting last year is that I know their pass rush and their sack rate got a lot of hit, but if you looked at their ability to pressure and sack the quarterback after the bye week last year, is when that team really came around defensively, and it was quietly. And I never saw anybody say anything about it. And I kept watching it and watching it. I was like, when is someone going to say about this? All the analysts. But their bye week was in week 12. But against, from 13 to 18, they had a top 5 sack rate and pressure rate in the NFL. And I feel like they figured some things out. Obviously, they let Grady Jarrett go this year. Probably it was time. And I think I'm kind of encouraged about their defense, but what I'm not encouraged about, I am encouraged about Penix, but what I'm not encouraged about is their offensive line. Their offensive line was absolutely amazing. And then unfortunately, right tackle Caleb McGarry is out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. And with a leg injury, I think it's ankle, but, and then back up, their swing tackle, Storm Norton, is out for the year, which is just brutal. So you've got your starting right tackle out for potentially half the season or more. We don't know. And then their swing tackle's out for the year, and which is really important because, as you and I have talked about many times, the blindside tackle is what's most important for Penix being a left-hander. That is super important. and can he actually is he going to be able to keep him upright? And so you've got that. That's just a really massive concern for most Falcons fans. It's a concern for me as well. One thing also is that the offense is the running game is an outside zone run. I mean, that's what there is. So 75% almost approximately, I think it's around 73% of their runs, of Bijan Robinson runs, go to the outside zone run team. Naturally, that's not too big deal. But the majority of the outside zone runs that where Bijan feels comfortable have been going to the right side. And now you have that right tackle as an issue. So it not only impacts Penix potentially, but also the running game and so that's a massive concern. And it was just a look. I root for every one of these teams to be good because interesting is great. Our business, we love interesting and we root for interesting and we root. And it's great when all these teams are great because you want to hear the clash. And you really felt like that it was the Falcons' year, and it still may be, but it may not because of this. And does this lower your expectation for the Falcons this year?
Well, obviously, it's a question they have to answer. No team goes into the season with a perfect roster with no weaknesses whatsoever. So these are weaknesses they didn't expect to have because these injuries have happened recently. Well, so can they reshuffle the offensive line? Can they move some guys over, and move them around? Are they scheme versatile? Maybe they are. We'll just have to see. I mean, in recent years, the offensive line has been a strength for the Falcons. Not necessarily pass blocking, but run blocking. But if they can shift some guys around and cover that hole, that would help, right? Now one positive thing I'd say is that it's bad news that both these guys got injured, but I do think Penix has great. He really has great pocket awareness. He moves around really well in the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield, and the guy we may see this year, if they're not able to plug that hole, we may see this year that Penix has some running ability. He's got 4.5 speed, and so he's been reluctant to show that in past years, and he's had some injury history. But if he's got to get out of there with the ball, he has the ability to do that. So it's an open question. Every team goes into the season with questions.
Yeah, and certainly this year, right tackle is a big question for this. So we're going to see how that works out. Turning on to another team that some think have potential this year. It was a rough start for Dave Canales in the Carolina Panthers in his rookie coaching season there, coming over from Tampa Bay as the OC. And everyone had high hopes for what he could do, and it really wasn't, paying off. And then he benched his star quarterback, Bryce Young, and put Andy Dalton in. But when Bryce Young reemerged, this team looked like a different team. And more importantly, for our community, the last 6 out of 9 games, they covered the spread. And so that was a really important thing for a lot of us and really exciting. And Bryce Young looked like he had the potential of the quarterback that we thought he would. Now, he's never going to be this elite quarterback. He just simply does not have the arm strength to make all the throws that you would think that he could make. But what I want to see out of Bryce Young is that give me some hope, because since 2019, the Carolina Panthers have not drafted outside the top 10 in the NFL. So there is a lot, just give me something to hope on. They just got their trading away Adam Thielen, and they feel really good in the building about the direction they're going and the roster they're building. They've got some really young wide receivers, and they felt like that these people are all going to kind of grow old together and keep these guys together. So super exciting about that, about what they could go. But, what are your thoughts about Bryce Young? What are your thoughts about the Carolina Panthers for 2025?
I just say that, last year, just when everybody thought he was a bust, he started showing some of that ability, that made him the first. I think he was first overall, was he not? I mean, I don't.
DJ Stroud was too.
Yeah, and I'd rather have Stroud, but I agree with you. I don't think he's ever going to be elite, but he showed the traits that got him drafted that high. I think he has the ability top end to be a good quarterback, a better than average NFL starter if all his traits are hitting. He just has a lack of some traits that would push him over the top to be elite. But he hey, he didn't quit. I mean, so that shows some character there. They got things turned around. We'll just have to see what happens. I tend to lean toward they were bad and then they regressed to good. I think they may regress again to sort of not be as good as they looked at the end of last year. But it's just a guess.
Yeah, well, if he's going to be better, if this Carolina Panthers is going to be better, the defense has got to be better. Historically, one of the worst defenses ever, averaging over 31 points a game given up, and also giving up 404.5 yards per game. So just a nightmare from a defensive standpoint. So I mean, it can't be all him, but we need to start seeing flashes this year. It's only his second year, but Dave Tepper is really kind of impulsive type owner, right? Is there any thought that Dave Canales would actually be under the gun this year? Would this be, potentially a quick trigger for him in his coaching debut?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. David Tepper is a legendary investor, but what he doesn't know is football. And actually, I think he was the one pounding the table to draft Bryce Young. If the story is correct, this is a guy who doesn't know football very well and kind of told his organization he wanted Young. So if that's true, who knows? I mean, who knows what goes on behind the scenes? But it's hard to know. I think what Tepper is good at though is if things are turning in the right direction, or he sees that he's a contrarian investor. That's why he's a legendary investor. He's always investing in the most beat up stocks, the most beat up debt. So if he sees this team that was really bad at one point last year, improving, that could buy the coaching staff some more time. Because that would transfer from his stock market, debt market, analytical abilities to football. But we'll just have to see. He is kind of a wild card, like I say, I think the Carolina Panthers are a complete mystery. I don't believe that they were as good as they ended up, and I don't think they were as bad as they started out. So I think they settled down somewhere in the middle of all that.
Well, Dave Tepper doesn't have the bond vigilantes to rise up against him in Carolina, but the fans may well if the defense doesn't get improved. Let's hope for Bryce Young's sake that he does, and let's hope for Dave Canales, a promising young coach, that he gets the opportunity to grow this team. Let's go to another team that really a tough team. Seems like there's always a division where you have two teams that are good, two teams that are not. And here we are with another team that has very low expectations this year, and that's the New Orleans Saints. And where they've got a decent roster. I mean, really got a decent roster at every position except where it matters. They have got no quarterback, between Tyler Shuck and between Spencer Rattler. Neither one of those guys have ever won an NFL game. And so that does not bode well walking into the season. I mean, they've got, like I said, a decent roster, but I think you would think that, with the roster that they have, their veterans are kind of old. You've got, Cam Jordan, you've got Alvin Kamara, you've got those people that good, but are past their prime, right? And so you've got these people, and so it's decent. They can rise up and do some potential things, but a lot of concerns, especially at the quarterback position, the most important position out there on the field. Are they going to be good enough to do anything this year that's going to resemble even a decent team this year? I think they could potentially be one of the worst teams in the NFL. What do you think?
I think they'll be pretty bad too, but they'll be better than the Cowboys.
The punishment never ends. Why do I even set you up like that?
I have no idea. I'm not. It's tough to have your biggest question mark be at the most important position, which is true for a lot of teams this year. It's the South is kind of interesting for that reason. There's a ton of how is it going to settle out? I mean, Tampa Bay's pretty good. Atlanta's got some promise, but it's kind of a wild card, man. It's a wild card division.
Well, it really is. I mean, look, and it really gets tough for them, right? Because they've got the second least amount of cap space of any NFL team. So they've got to hit on a quarterback. Clearly, this is not going to be it. Again, why do you draft Tyler Shook in the second round? Why don't you do like the Texans do and just go all in on Davis Mills and say we're going to be bad, and then the next draft they get C.J. Stroud, and so why not just embrace the funk and be bad and do that, and then you just wasted a second round pick that could be it's essentially going to be a backup, right? Because I mean he's older as a quarterback, he's 26, 27, 28, something like that, and so he's older, and so you wasted your second round pick on him. That is extremely valuable. It's not like he's a 6th round pick. He is a 2nd round pick. And so you put that on him, and now he's the backup, and he's not even playing. He's not a backup, but a backup not to Russell Wilson or someone who's actually performed for, but Spencer Rattler, who's never won an NFL game, and that's your backup. So that kind of tells you about your quarterback situation there. Again, the most important position on the field that you're really struggling with. I mean, I just don't know how this team is going to turn out. You kind of feel like this team is certainly far closer to the Aints than the days of Sean Payton when they were in the playoffs.
I'll say this, as a Falcons fan, I'm very excited about the upcoming season for the Saints.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, look, I know it'd be tempting. We got to keep this in context, as well as some people are looking for information and edges from this show. And be careful about just betting. If you're in survivor leagues, just betting against the Saints every single game, because in 8 of their games, they are only underdogs by 5.5 points or less. So there is chance. And again, some veterans have some pride. The Superdome's always a tough place to play. There'll be some bags on the field or some on the bags of heads of Saints fans this year. And the Aints will come back, but there will be chances for them to rise up. Please do not do the rookie mistake and take teams on the road in your survivor leagues. Only take those teams at home, because this is a team that could rise up and will put some people out during the season. But talking about a team that had some injury problems like the Falcons, had some tough years before Tom Brady. But when Tom Brady came back, and now the resurgence of Baker Mayfield, this feels like a team that's just kind of set a culture now, and of a coach that seemed like he was on the hot seat every single year with Todd Bowles. And this is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's like every year you saw the hot seat list. Todd Bowles was on it for like 5 years straight. And every year he just kept coming back, and he's pushed the right buttons with offensive coordinators and with the quarterback now. And you've had this, you've had Dave Canales, and you've had Liam Cohen, and now you've got Josh Grizzard, who's now going to be leading the offensive coordinator. I mean, and you don't know, is this Todd Bowles or is Baker Mayfield now the kingmaker, or how's this exactly happening? But, talk to me about, opponent I know that you respect in the South is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. They seem to keep somehow, like they've had a talented roster, for years and years now, and they don't seem to, they never seem to like drag bottom, so, and they picked up Mayfield for nothing. Mayfield was kind of like, he was kind of, I think people, he seemed to enter into that kind of bust kind of category in a lot of people's minds. And actually the guy has always been pretty good. I don't think he's ever been anywhere close to a bust. I don't think he's elite either, but I think he's very good, and he's a good leader on the field. And for that reason, he's kind of just what they needed. And they got a good offense around him. They got some questions in run defense. I don't think Todd Bowles is like the greatest, X's and O's guys in the world, but they're tough, man. And I expected the Falcons to do better last year, and Tampa Bay just keeps pulling rabbits out of their hats. So they're good offense. I expect them to to be good again. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any deep insights other than like I don't expect them to underperform. They're going to be good.
Well, look, I mean, I think that they've got one of, if not the best wide receiver core in the entire NFL, especially with Emeka Egbuka coming in and from Ohio State, hearing nothing but amazing things about him during camp and what he could potentially do. Like I said, the resurgence of Baker Mayfield, Cleveland is still looking for a quarterback. And got rid of Baker. But again, would Baker have thrived in that environment? I just don't know that he would have. He'd be continually getting hurt because the offensive line there. And now he's gone to a place. And I don't know if Todd Bowles has to be the X and O's guys. Todd Bowles has got this self-awareness to know, hey, let me bring in the offensive coordinator and let me bring in that guy and let that guy, handle that. And he doesn't meddle. And he doesn't need to. Todd Bowles, much to his credit, doesn't have the ego where he has to be the guy. He's the coach of the team. Everybody knows that. But he doesn't have to take credit for anybody. Doesn't have to come in there and say, hey, man, that was my play. I called that one. You never hear that from him. He's got that surgeon mentality, that level thing where you're just like, that's the guy. He's in control. Maybe, again, is self-awareness one of the better, most underrated traits in life. Of where if you know where you are, you can overcome your weaknesses, and if you always you're self-aware, you can overcome those and achieve far beyond your potential just by becoming self-aware. But anything that starts with a B, whether it's Baker or Bitcoin, the public was right, and Baker is coming to own, and it's good to see Baker be that guy because it's a guy you kind of root for, right? His commercials were funny. Hopefully he does some more commercials. He did the Home Depot commercials there for a while for Cleveland, which were phenomenal. Hopefully they'll get back some more. You look forward to kind of seeing him.
By the way, I loved your point about it might not have been the right situation for him in Cleveland, and it's a better situation in Tampa. Tampa's got a good offensive line, and yet he still took 40 sacks last year. So I kind of agree with you that he needs an offensive line to bring out what he has, because 40 sacks with a good offensive line, with a bad offensive line, that's like 60, right? So he is able to perform at a high level with a good offensive line. I actually think Penix has a higher upside than Baker, but maybe not this year. I mean, he's still a young player. Well, I mean, he's an old rookie, but a young NFL player. But yeah, I like your point about that. That Tampa is a perfect situation for him.
It is. Environment matters. People who don't think it does. It matters. It matters tremendous amount. Also, what has been a key cog in that wheel is Jason Light, their all-star GM. Doesn't get enough credit down there. Very well thought of in the league. Does an amazing job at roster development. They're building a squad here and can eventually be, a team. But to for me, they need to go in the playoffs to really be legit to me. Go in the playoffs and do something other than blow off an Eagles team who's imploding. Go in there and act like you belong and play. And at least you don't have to win, but be competitive. But make the divisional weekend. I'll be happy if you do that because this team seems like it's on the verge of like, hey, we're a real team, and I want to see that because they certainly have got a great roster, and certainly I didn't mean to leave out Bucky Irving, a tremendous back who was one of the actually best running back in the NFL in EPA last year. So averaged 6.0 yards per scrimmage. So again, a great opportunity for this Tampa Bay team, and this NFC South division is going to be fun to watch this year as always. I think it's on the rise, the exception of New Orleans, but I do think that it's good, and hopefully Carolina will emerge, and so it won't just be a two-team division.
A rising tide is never good in New Orleans. Never good. Unless you're a Falcons fan.
That's probably not something I should even bring up to the poor New Orleans fans. I mean, it hadn't been that long ago. So the Frixer, break down the NFC South, rack them and stack them.
All right, so I think Tampa Bay. I'm going to be easy on the Falcons and keep my expectations low. Tampa Bay is going to win it again. I think Atlanta takes second again, and it's going to finish just same as it did last year. Panthers and Saints. The Panthers will be maybe a little better than they were last year. The Saints will be a little worse, and the Buccaneers about the same. Falcons may be a little bit better, but yeah, it's going to finish same order.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I'm going to do that a little bit for different reasons. I still like Tampa Bay. I don't like the injuries to the right side of the offensive line for Atlanta. If Carolina could even right the ship, I might take them second, just because I'm concerned that Atlanta, you went all in on defense. You're like, okay, our sack and pressure rate's terrible, so we're going to do everything on defense. Not one single offensive addition in the offseason. Everything went defense. You cannot do that in the NFL. What are you doing, Atlanta? So the front office owes some blame for that one. You have to continue to build and to stack on both sides of the ball. A little disappointing in the front office there, but for that reasons, I still think Carolina is still a year away, a draft away, and what they're doing. The people in the building, when I talk to those people, they feel good about Carolina, where they're going. I just don't think they're good enough this year. I think Atlanta still does it. I'm with you. I love Penix. It's exciting to watch him. The last 3 games of the season, he had one of the highest completion percentages and one of the lowest sack rates and lowest interceptions. Now, granted, it was against one of the 3 worst defenses, pass defenses in the league. But again, the talent, the wow was definitely there. I'm with you. I'm going Tampa Bay 1. I'm going Atlanta 2. I'm going Carolina 3. And I am going New Orleans 4. Guys, thanks for tuning in. You make this so much more fun for us. And again, all negative comments goes to the Frixer.
New Orleans is staying underwater where they belong.
I love everybody. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe despite the Frixer. He's out of control. No one can control the Frixer. But again, thanks for tuning in. We greatly appreciate you. I'm Uncle Phil for the Frixer. And as always, guys, please like and subscribe. And as always, let's roll.